The talk around Columbia is the gas tax. In this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, I speak exclusively with State Representative William Cogswell.
Representative Cogswell, it is so good to see you, man.
It's good to see you, Quintin.
Oh, I appreciate this.
Glad to do it.
Thank you. Well, I want to take it back to April 26th. She posted the following link on your Facebook page. And this is actually a headline from the Post and Courier. It reads, "Frustrated South Carolina House inserts gas tax bill into state budget, disperse Senate vote." As you know, the Senate just voted last week to basically increase the gas tax, and I think it's heading back to the House this week.
That's right, heading to committee.
Wow. When you think of that, what sticks out to you?
Well, I would say that, to sum it up in one word, I'd say it's democracy. I mean, what happened was we in the House passed a bill. It was then sent to the Senate. They have debated it and come up with some alternatives to the bill, and now what happens is it goes to committee where we try and hash out a compromise, and hopefully that will end up happening. The big issue that the Senate had was they wanted to see some sort of tax cut associated with an increase in the gas tax. And what has resulted from their hours of debate is just that they have well, at least they can say that they have a tax cut. Whether or not it'll be what they hope it'll be is to be determined, but I applaud their efforts to get something done.
I want to pause for a second because obviously the House and the Senate have tackled so many issues from January 11th to now. What is it like for you to be State Representative William Cogswell?
I'm enjoying it. It's a lot of work, and it is difficult to juggle a job and spend the time that's needed out in Columbia. And I really applaud the members of both the House and Senate for being able to do it, because it's not easy. And some nights, you're there for a while trying to get things done. But in the end, I think that it's been certainly worth it. I've enjoyed it. Met some really great people, and people that I think are really proud of their state and want to serve the state. So.
Let me turn to your op-ed in the Post and Courier from April 16th. The headline reads, "Gas tax needed for the long run." You said this, quote, "In the debate over the roads bill in Columbia, I've learned that some find it difficult to see the forest for the trees, that special interest groups are alive and well, and that blind ideology often trumps common sense." How easy was for you to find that forest for the trees?
Well, it's not always easy to look at the bigger picture, especially when you're bogged down in the weeds on nuances of a particular bill. And frankly, it's not easy to get everybody on the same page. I mean, the House I got a lot of people that you got to get on board in order to pass a bill. So, from my perspective, it's something that I've always had a knack for, looking at the bigger picture. Sometimes my wife will tell you it's too big picture, and I need to focus a little bit more on the details. So it's not always great to be up in above the forest. But when it comes to things like the gas tax, I mean, from my perspective, it was pretty black and white. I mean, money was needed. The last time this gas tax increase was when it was put in place back 30 years ago. And people often say, for example, that it's a 70% increase over what it is currently. Well, I like to say it's just being adjusted for inflation, because it's never moved in 30 years, whereas the consumer price index goes up, and costs go up, and this is catching up with it. So that may be oversimplifying it, but the reality of it is money was needed. People don't want to say that they're for a tax, and I understand that. Nobody wants to be for taxes, but at times you just need to call it like it is. And, we needed money, and we needed to figure out a way to get money for a very serious problem. So hopefully that's what we're going to be able to do in the next week.
Yeah. And let me continue a portion of this particular op-ed that you sent, because you said this, quote, and you're basically going off of what somebody said from the Reagan era, but we don't have a revenue problem, we have a spending problem. This Reagan era mantra is not exactly accurate when applied to our failing roads. No doubt infrastructure costs have been steadily going up, and opponents of the gas tax claim that it's proof that the South Carolina Department of Transportation is irresponsible, if not corrupt, in how it spends its money. What is the state of the Department of Transportation in your mind right now?
It's a government agency. Could it be more efficient? Yeah,
Okay.
it could. But has it been dramatically improved from where it was 3 years ago? Yes. I mean, the legislature and the previous government, at least, were working on or have enacted major reforms for DOT. Some argue that it's not been enough and want to see the department, completely stripped of the commission, the South Carolina Infrastructure Bank rolled back into DOT's umbrella, and they want to have it completely under the watch of the governor. And there are really merits to all sides of that argument, but what I grew frustrated with was that people kept clamoring for more and more reform is a way, almost it seemed, to just delay the conversation that we need more money to fix our roads. So I think what the House did, and I really compliment Representative Summerall and Speaker Lucas for really going out on a limb, because it's not a popular thing for a Republican to come out in favor of tax. But they saw the need for it. They went after it and came up with a bill that increased the gas tax, but also did implement some pretty significant changes to DOT, including having all of the commissioners being put under the control or appointment of the governor. So I think it was solved a lot of the criticisms that people had, or answered a lot of the criticisms that people had, but a lot of times people didn't seem to really understand that. I mean, it is a complex issue, so getting all of the bullet points in a sound bite sometimes can prove very difficult.
Oh yes, indeed. Let me read more of your op-ed. You said this, quote, "There are other arguments for roads that can be made. Public safety, we have the most deadly roads in the country. Economic development, that is, we're being left in the dust by North Carolina and Georgia, and the hidden costs passed down to the taxpayer. See TRIP study. But unfortunately, some can seek only a three-letter word, tax, and that shuts down the conversation."
Sure.
Wow.
And it again, I go back to the point, passing a tax is usually not a popular thing to do, but from my perspective, I think you need to be honest with the electorate, and you need to let them know when there is a massive funding gap, which there is on our infrastructure system. So, you need to have the conversation. And I think the electorate appreciates it when legislators, politicians, whatever you want to call us up there, are honest and frank with them. I mean, tell them like it is. And it's not always easy decisions, but some of these decisions just need to be made in the interest of the state, and it's certainly in the interest of the long-term viability and economic health of our state. So.
And write the headline for me. The South Carolina legislators, this delegation will do what next week?
I think both the House and the Senate understand the importance of getting this done. I really believe that everybody feels that this is one of the most important issues that the legislature's picked up or taken up in the past 5+ years. So I think that they are going to come to a solution. I think it'll probably be a solution that maybe not everybody's happy with, but that's what democracy is all about. I mean, it's the ability to compromise and work with people that have opposing views. And I respect that process, and I feel like the people both on House and Senate side will get it done. Now, whether the governor vetoes it is another question. I was really surprised when he came out and said that he was going to veto any sort of increase in the gas tax. I mean, it was my jaw hit the floor. And so if he does oppose it, I know in the House we have a veto-proof majority that will probably go into action, and I suspect that the Senate will as well. And I think from the governor's perspective, I think this would be a difficult fight to win, and probably ostracize him from the legislature if he shoots this down. So we'll see what happens.
Speaking of the governor, when you look at what he's done over the, I guess, past 2 months or so, what letter grade would you give him as far as performance as governor?
I don't know the governor at all. I mean, I've heard he's a really nice guy, and but all I can really speak to is what he's suggested in terms of this particular bill.
Sure.
I think I've made it clear that I'm very much in opposition to what he's. I mean, his suggestion that we issue a larger bond bill to just have a stopgap funding measure, I think was not a prudent thing to do. Would be very irresponsible to do. So I'm hoping that was just a momentary lapse of judgment. If I had to rate him, I mean, it would really be heavily weighted on what he's come out and said in terms of the gas tax, and he wouldn't get a very good grade. So,
Representative William Cogswell, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, glad to do it.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.